in the Piyut of Anim Zmiris, in the letter Vav and Zayin, Vayechzu v'chos ziknu v'achus arashcha b'sev v'shacharus. The Nevi'im portray HaKadosh Baruch Hu in different ways. Zikna and Bachrus, as an older person and as a young person. The next line explains Zikna b'yom din v'achus b'yom krov. Zikna is on a yom din, according to the sources of this piyut. Zikna is for Rosh Hashanah, for the day of judgment, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu judges, and Bachrus is b'yom krov, for the days of war. The Medrash in Parshas Beshalach says it a little bit differently. It says Al Yom Nidmalem Kibachar Ish Milchama. On the time of Kriyas Yamsuf, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu was fighting the Mitzrayim, so he looked like a young person with black hair, a young person because he's fighting, he's a warrior. And Al Har Sinai Nidmal Kazakin, and by Har Sinai, already when Klal Yisrael reached Har Sinai, then he appeared Kaviyachal, like a zaken, like somebody who's older, somebody who's more settled, not like the warrior who we saw by Kriyas Yamsuf. So it turns out that Kriyas Yamsuf says the Nesiv Shalom, the Slonim Rebbe says that Kriyas Yamsuf really was the culmination of Yetzias Mitzrayim, not only in the fact that the Mitzrayim were killed at that point, but really when we look at the Psukim and the Svarim HaKadoshim, when Klal Yisrael left Mitzrayim, they physically left Mitzrayim, but they were still somehow meshubed, they were still connected with the Eved mentality of being under the control of the Mitzrayim, of their Egyptian masters, and that's why it says that Parai saw that they were nevuchim ba'aretz, they were still connected with the land of Mitzrayim, and that's why he felt that he can go and run after them, and he was right. They were still connected until the moment of Kriyas Yamsuf itself. So the process of leaving Mitzrayim actually only occurred when they were completely freed from the hashbah of the Mitzrayim, which happened by Kriyas Yamsuf. So it continues the Nesiv Shalom, the Slonim Rebbe, and he says that really the three parts of the Geula, the part of actually leaving physically Mitzrayim, the spiritual and the mental Yetzias Mitzrayim, which happened on Kriyas Yamsuf, and then there's the Matan Torah. So really, this also very, very, very much corresponds to different parts of a person's life. A person is born as a young child, doesn't know anything else, only what he needs, his physical needs. He doesn't know anything about spirituality and about wisdom. He thinks about what he needs for himself. We know that a person is born with a Yetzer Hara until he's bar mitzvah. He doesn't get a Yetzer Tov until he becomes a little bit mature and he can start understanding and start taking responsibility for his actions. That's at bar mitzvah. Then he gets the Yetzer Tov, and then he starts fighting. Then he starts working and he starts building himself until from 13 to 20, when we know that there's a 20 is also a very big number, when he starts being responsible in terms of Einshim Midei Shamayim. But between those years, that's when he starts to build himself, he starts fighting, he starts working himself out. What is he going to be? What does he want to be? What are his she'ifas? Then at 20 years old, he starts realizing that he has to start building himself. He's not a child anymore, he's not a teenager anymore. People at that age, they start thinking about careers, they start building their houses, and that's why it says in the Nesiv Shalom, we know that the Chazal equate Yetzias Mitzrayim to Parnasa and to Shidduchim, because when a person is looking for a Shidduch, when he's looking for Parnasa, he's starting to build himself, he's like lost in the sea of life to try and find his way. That's like says the Nesiv Shalom, that's like what happened when the Yidden reached the Yamsuf. Yes, they left Mitzrayim, they were running, they were moving, but they were still connected, they still weren't free from the claws of Mitzrayim. And they were standing at the Yam, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Yiso, just go in, you have to jump in, you have to do something, you have to go in, just like Klal Yisrael then did, and just like how the HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed himself then, like a warrior who's active. He's not sitting passively, he's doing something, he's actively saving Klal Yisrael, but Klal Yisrael also has to be active, also has to fight and move and do something, and then he can overcome all the nisyones of Shidduchim, of Parnasa, and everything else that faces a person during that period in his life. Then comes the later period of the Matan Torah, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Gezaken, everything is already settled then, people are ready, and Klal Yisrael becomes ready and prepared to accept the Torah and to really live with the Torah. That comes much later. But now when we're still in the middle of Yetzias Mitzrayim, today it's not yet the 7th day of Pesach, in preparation of the 7th day of Pesach, we're still fighting, we're still on the front, we're still looking and trying to figure out how we can fight. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling us, you have to keep going forward, you have to keep removing the claws of Mitzrayim from you until after Yetzias Mitzrayim, until HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself removes all the Mitzrayim and he drowns them in the Yamsuf, and then that's when we can start preparing ourselves slowly and surely to the great day of Matan Torah. May this 7th day of Pesach be the culmination not only of our marking the Yetzias Mitzrayim of then, but also the marking of Yetziah from this Golus. May be this day of the 7th day of Pesach bring the Geula Shlema. Good Yom Tov and good Shabbos.